it says that when you had to build something on a piece of land, there would be a puja, like a Vastu puja. It was meant to be that, okay, I am using this piece of land for my need. Pardon me for any kind of biological elements in the soil or above. Like, we understand landscape at all these three layers, the soil, the surface, and the environment above. And please allow me to use it. And if I am going to kill any kind of life forms, please pardon me. This is my need. It is not my aspiration. It is for my need. I'm using it. Now, that kind of an understanding has been lost.
Design, everything cannot be just, made with something, or it has to be very thoughtful. It has to have a concept beyond that.
Absolutely.
It is a collection of things which is, surrounding you, and that makes that place or that space experiential.
Yeah, it's a basket of experiences,
Yeah.
continued experiences, and these experiences trigger our memories. And that is the beauty of it. So we say that any kind of experience which you're getting through your landscape design has to be multisensorial.
Correct.
Okay, can you bring that
It
into
cannot
your,
be only
it cannot be
visual or
only visual.
aesthetical.
So can you bring these multisensorial experiences, even tactile for that matter, where it is possible? And sound plays an important role. So if you want to enrich it with certain sounds which are naturally happening by creating habitats. So right now there's a crow who is we can hear the crow of the sound here.
Correct.
From the studio. So those kind of experiences can be created. Okay, and they are not like they're very dynamic. So at some time they might happen, sometime they might not happen. So the best thing for this to start for them is to learn to observe, which they have lost. Right? So that is something which they need to observe in their surroundings to recreate those kind of experiences.
Hello and welcome to Landscape Guru, a podcast where we explore people, ideas, and stories that shape the world of landscape architecture. In today's episode, we are joined by architect Uttara Nalavde, someone with a different lens to look at our surroundings. In conversation with her, we talked about how sounds of landscape or sonic experiences contribute towards our memories of the space, or also the life stories. So, and also how these are taken ahead in the design philosophy and how it impacts the users of that design. So stay tuned till the end. You will definitely enjoy this episode. Hello, Uttara ma'am.
Hello,
Welcome
Mrunal.
to the show.
Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
So let's start with something basic and simple. If somebody asks you what is landscape architecture and that person has never heard about it, how would you describe what landscape architecture is?
It would have been difficult maybe 4-5 years back for me to answer this question.
Okay.
But I've started looking at landscape from a very broad lens now. So if from a teacher point of view, I have to explain to my students, I would say that landscape is everything under the sky.
Correct.
It encompasses everything which you see around, cannot restrict to anything. As a student, or before maybe I did my master's in landscape, I would have called it, jhad phul patti, something which is related to the green. But now, yes, the perspective is absolutely changed. Yeah.
Okay. So you started with architecture. Then what was that point when you decided that you want to, be specialized in landscape architecture? What was that shift, or what was that, moment where you realized that this is my interest and this is what I want to be, specialized in?
Honestly, it came up by chance, very serendipitously, if you can say. That was not my focus. I've been practicing for more than 25 years into architecture.
Okay.
I have been giving landscape solutions.
Architecture, you mean building architecture?
Yes, building
Okay.
architecture, pure. And most of my practice was with respect to industrial buildings, as in typology.
Hmm.
Uh, Landscape, of course, was given as small time solutions within my projects, but was never my core practice.
Hmm.
It was that shift which I got into academics, say around 12-15 years back, that pushed me to do a master's. And this was
Oh.
probably the most, kind of a promising option for me to do, in that range of possibilities which
Oh.
was there. And once I joined, maybe it was a calling for me, is what I thought, because I really, really enjoyed the course, and this is something now becoming the core field of my career.
So
now.
it is kind of you moved into teaching,
Yes,
then you
absolutely.
shifted towards
Yes,
that's interesting.
yeah. So, I mean, it's very funny that I've done my master's post 50 of my age. So, and it's not me. There were some more of my colleagues who joined us.
Mhm.
So this was an opportunity, maybe meant for us, to make a change in this field. Yes.
So after so many years of practice, when did you decide to move into teaching and why? I mean, what was the
So initially, I mean, for me, I started with teaching post my graduation from JJ, and that was for a very short period, probably to find opportunities. Just when I got married and shifted to a place where I had shifted to Panvel, so that's where the possibility of practice and things that I was just setting up, and I started with teaching as my career for 2 to 3 years. That was in Pillai's College of Architecture. Post that, which I was into my own practice. We had our own firm in Vashi. And then later, again, at this leg of my life, that I came back into teaching because of a personal shift which I had to make. And now almost for more than 15 years I've been into teaching. Into practice, I really did not feel the need to pursue a master's, because we joined practice at a time when Navi Mumbai was in its formative years, and there was a boom of requirement of architects there, and a practice set up, and we really didn't feel the need. But in academics, there is a requirement if you have to sort of get a hierarchy into your status. If you're teaching a master's is a requirement. So in my batch, if you remember, there were very few people who had done masters at that point of time when I graduated, and some of them were from landscape, but not many. You gin chun ke, you would have architects who are pursuing masters or even going abroad for masters. But now I think it's like a trend. I mean, you have to complete your masters, whether you are into academics or practice,
whether you're clear or not clear.
Absolutely.
Want to do masters or no, you want.
But I'm glad I did my masters with whatever difficulties at this point of time, and it has changed the perspective, especially because I did my masters in landscape architecture.
So as landscape architect, you look at landscape as everything under the sky, but as a person, or as your background of upbringing, how do you look at landscape, and how it has impact on your philosophy of design, or perspective towards architecture?
Are you looking at it from the point of how one should teach, or
what is your perspective, what is your understanding as a person, and then how you take it ahead in your teaching?
I feel the way landscape we should look at is what kind of an impact it can make on lives of people. May it be a child, maybe an elderly person, and we are actually realizing the kind of negative impacts where we are totally disconnecting from nature these days. There have been attempts made to a great extent. Looking at my childhood, the way I was being brought up in an environment which allowed me to connect to nature at every time, every moment of the day. And now I'm living in a city, in a metropolis, where I realize you don't have opportunities to connect to your nature.
Absolutely.
Even outside your window. or you have no opportunities to connect to even the geography of the place which you stay in.
Correct.
Just to give an example, that I stay in Navi Mumbai. Till I did my masters, I was not even aware of the Parsik Hills in my place.
Oh.
Okay, now look at an age where I'm not even aware of my geography. Okay, I was aware of the creek and many other
Right.
things. Probably you would see that kind of connect in rural areas where children know about where they are living, and this is very important. Not only for you to be happy, but also to be aware of how you sustain within the setting in which you stay. So that is extremely important. You would not know of the impacts it is causing on you subconsciously as a person.
Right.
Coming to even recognizing the plants around you or the birds who are in your environment, a chirping of the bird in the morning, the kind of impact it makes positively in your life, I was not aware till I started missing it. So thinking of a call of a bird in the morning, and you would know the time of the day. Okay, a seasonal change which is happening, that simple thing when in our childhood in school you see a Bharadwaj Pakshi and you say that, oh, it's going to get good luck. So we would all sort of smile at each other and say, आज Bharadwaj दिखा तो बहुत ये अच्छा होना चाहिए. Now this is a very simple connect, and it has got some joy and some understanding with respect to nature. Now that nothing of this happens. Okay, so even if I go to a garden, I see that everyone is on their mobiles. There is an opportunity, but there is no connect to nature, and subconsciously it is affecting everyone's health, which we don't realize, and we are putting it in forced formats now.
Correct.
Right? So this is the kind of thing which I feel that that connect to nature is something which is to be got into lives of people. Otherwise, we are going to have an epidemic. The next epidemic which we are saying is the depression, is going to be the greatest.
So generally nowadays people look at nature as a weekend thing, like a trek or a forest trail, but nature has to be everyday thing. As you
yes.
said, there has to be a connection, so that because everything that we do in our lifestyle, it is all connected to nature, but we are not understanding or we are not realizing it now because we have such disconnect with our environment.
Yes.
So how do you take this into studios, and how do you make the younger generation realize this and come up with a better perspective towards nature and their surroundings?
So it happens in two scales in the way I deal with this. One is something which is outside an institute where I connect with people, maybe children or any other people, where I put it into my narratives where it reaches. So you cannot do it directly and preach people to do things, but suppose I'm going for a walk and I see children, I can have a conversation with them where I start connecting them to nature. In an institutional format, they have very targeted outputs. I mean, everyone perceives landscape to be taught in a particular way, which is output driven. Things are changing over a period of time where a lot of other aspects of landscape have started coming into our teaching processes. So there we are trying to drive it in a way that it informs your site planning decisions, which you can do with your landscape, and it is not only for beautification of your site. Also, we are also trying to look at saying that it is the first thing which you start with, because your land is the first vastu, and that has been there even in our scriptures. Like in Maya Matam, it is said your first site is the ground. When you say vastu, that first vastu is your ground, and it goes with a lot of understanding as to how you deal with your site. So when we were sort of reading, one of my colleagues and me were reading through this Mayamatam book, it had a very nice narrative in which it says that when you had to build something on a piece of land, uh, there would be a puja, like a Vastu puja. It was meant to be that, okay, I am using this piece of land for my need. Pardon me for any kind of biological elements in the soil or above. Like we understand landscape at all these three layers, the
Right.
soil, the surface, and the environment above. And please allow me to use it. And if I am going to kill any kind of life forms, please pardon me. This is my need. It is not my aspiration.
Right.
It is for my need. I'm using it. Now,
Ah.
that kind of an understanding has been lost. I mean, we feel that our site or our project is, that means it is मेरी मालकिया में कुछ भी कर सकती हूँ, and without understanding that it flows beyond your sight. Okay, and the impacts also flow from
Correct.
in outside and from outside in. So this is something which we have started telling them, that your landscape does not end at the boundaries of your site.
Correct.
You know, you need to pay attention even beyond your boundaries. So this little bit we have started to teach our students, also to make sensitive decisions based on the inherent aspect of the landscapes within your site, and that it is not only about the trees and beautification and
Correct.
place making. So that little bit we've been trying to do, connecting them to the cultural aspect of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So as you said, it is not just about beautification or greenery or gardens. Also, the sound, what we hear in our surroundings, has a very big impact on the experiences. For example, a temple bell, or bird chirping, or maybe just hawkers on the street, they make a very significant impact on the surrounding people who are experiencing that space. So how would you describe on that, and how I mean, our students or the younger generation are even, you know, getting connected with these things, or it is just a thing that we can ignore? I mean, there has to be a very conscious call or a conscious connect that we make with these things.
Right.
Otherwise, layman के लिए तो ये रोज का चीज है. But we as
Absolutely.
architects, we look at these things very differently.
I take this aspect of sound as something which is a process of collectively perceiving and learning things. Okay, so it is not put under a methodical way of learning, but these are perceptions. So all the sensory experiences which we get, they actually trigger all our senses. Okay,
Correct.
whether it's your visual by the eye or nose, from which you smell, or you know, you hear. So those are the senses which are the triggers which you get from your environment, and when it reaches our brain, it starts making perceptions.
Correct.
And these continued perceptions, actually, when you start making meaning, they make imprints of learning, which sort of you know, put impressions of you to learn from your environment, and that is very important. So if to give an example of what you started with, the temple bells, no one is telling you that the temple sits there in that particular area, but by the sound of the bells, you come to know, okay, I've come closer to this place.
Right.
Okay, so it is a sense of identity or a memory also with respect to the temple. So maybe it tells me that if my house is near the temple, it tells me I've come closer to the temple, so the sound has informed me. It also triggers a lot of memories related to that.
Correct.
Okay, maybe you might remember that I went with my grandmother to this temple when I was small, and all these are, you know, which are imprinted in your brain for a long time. Now when we are looking at it scientifically, we understand all these, but these are all part of our life. They, you know, every experience which you have becomes a part of your life. Like I said, the sound of a bird, the kokila, you know, in the morning, is something which brings back memory of my childhood.
Yeah.
Right? So that is a sound which actually keeps me happy, and maybe if I hear it here, it puts me back into your memory. Somewhere in a coastal area, if someone's staying maybe in Alibag or somewhere, the sound of the waves,
Yeah.
you know, समुद्रावरचा जो आवाज आहे तर that might bring a joy to people. So these sounds are extremely beautiful, and we don't know how much impacts they make on us
Correct.
to make us happy.
So
Right.
in modern design, what do you say, practice or methodologies, or so how do we carry these things ahead? How do you train your students to, you know, absorb these things from your surroundings and carry it in your design philosophy?
So we say that any kind of experience which you're getting through your landscape design has to be multisensorial.
Correct.
Okay, can you bring that
It cannot
into
be
your,
only
it cannot be
visual
only
or
visual.
aesthetical.
So can you bring these multisensorial experiences, even tactile for that matter, where it is possible, and sound plays an important role. So if you want to enrich it with certain sounds which are naturally happening by creating habitats. So right now there's a crow who is
Yeah.
we can hear the crow of the sound here
Correct.
from the studio. So those kind of experiences can be created. Okay, and they are not like they're very dynamic. So at some time they might happen, sometime they might not happen. So the best thing for this to start for them is to learn to observe, which they have lost. Right. So that is something which they need to observe in their surroundings to recreate those kind of experiences. So that is one thing we can look at. Coming to the point of the hawkers which you were saying, it is very interesting, where I can judge I stay in an area which is still like a neighborhood which has a lot of bungalows, and the hawking which happens door to door, for the vegetables and whatever aspect of fruits and things like that, which come door to door and they sell. So we have a very funny thing in our house, we start imitating the calls of the hawkers, and we know that today this bell is ringing, matlab ande wala pav wala aa gaya. So I know, so 7 o'clock I perceive ki abhi ye sound aa gaya, to I have to run and order for this or the vegetables. Now the formats have changed, and now they're recording on their mobiles and putting it on their speaker and selling things. So many things, they have also become wiser now. They don't want to shout so much, but these sounds are very important for people living in their neighborhood. So the resources of not going to the market and buying things, but the hawker and the sound is allowing you to get it at your house.
Right.
So these are some very interesting things. So even for that matter, the Vasudev who still comes even in Mumbai, and what is the day, aaj kuch important hai, daan dena hai, these kind of things these are all perceived through sound. You're not even going and seeing that person, but the way that person sings is a sound which makes
so
the impact.
in design, everything cannot be just made with something, or it has to be very thoughtful, it has to have a concept beyond that.
Absolutely.
It is a collection of things which is surrounding you, and that makes that place or that space experiential.
Yeah, it's a basket of experiences,
Yeah.
continued experiences, and these experiences trigger our memories, and that is the beauty of it. Even it is this moment when I'm talking to you, maybe it is relating to your memory of something which
when
I
you
am
said
speaking.
Vasudev, I
Yeah.
went back in
Yeah.
my memories.
Yeah. So they are very beautiful. They're small joys. So you need to sort of collect these small joys together for yourself.
Correct.
So that's very beautiful about it.
Absolutely. So as we were saying, few sounds or even visuals for that matter create a very big impact on your memories, and you carry that with you for a longer time. How do we make younger generation realize this, and how you take it in the studio and train them to observe these things and take it in their working?
Okay, so it's not directly related to sounds per se, but would try to tell you a small exercise which I had conducted with one of the studios of landscape. And of course, this exercise was not curated by me; it was curated by one of my teachers, which I tried to experiment in my studio. So often when we are introduced to the subject of landscape design in our curriculum in semester 5 and 6, students fear कि अरे अभी बहुत बड़े बड़े नाम याद करना पड़ेगा, you know, because those botanical names, and that's not my forte. Or even when they come for admission of masters, they say बहुत सारा नाम याद रखना पड़ेगा, and I cannot do it. Like that's not possible for me. So we tried this exercise ki okay, if that's the fear of the children to remember so many botanical names, which is not the core subject of landscape, let us just try to sort of take away this fear from them. So we told them that you come up with any 5 trees which you remember since your childhood, that to maybe a tree which you saw in your grandma's place or something you played around in your school. Come up with you don't even have to know the names, you can just describe and say weave a story around it which you experienced. So in a class of 40-45 students, everyone came up with their memories of that tree and what they did around it. It could be the flowers they had from the tree, the garlands their grandmother made, the nail paint they made out of the gulmohar petals in the school, or where they climbed and they fell down, or that was a place where they would go and spend their vacation in their native place. Or it could be many more things where they understood so many aspects of the tree, and that was something which they had seen some 10-12 years or 15 years back, and that has still remained as a memory.
Right.
And then we would say, now find a name and tell everyone. So that fear was gone, and then they remembered each other's stories. Okay, tamarind tree, हाँ दादी ने बोला था इसके नीचे भूत है, मत जाना शाम को वहाँ पे. So now you remembered the bhoot tree, tamarind, or the banyan where the Vata Purnima happened. And in our kind of Indian landscapes, we are so culturally connected with either by the produce the tree gives you, because we had scoped it specifically to trees, because trees are something which make a mark for a longer period of time versus maybe shrubs or grasses. So that was, and prominently they are forming a space within the landscape. So it's very easy to kind of remember them over a long period of time. So these kind of stories came, and they were expressed in front of the whole class, where everyone came with story, and there was a joy that they could connect to the time, and they had a good laugh. And then we came to the subject where we told them, okay, ye hai naam, but you can still search it. If you know the attributes and the characteristics of the trees, then we got it compiled into a beautiful booklet where they made those sketches where they were not only the vegetation and the fruit and the trees, but people were connected to it. So if someone had made someone fell down the tree, then they drew that this is the tree I fell down from and I got my fracture, so it is made an important mark in my life, so that kind of a thing. So these were fun things which we introduced, and it was really interesting.
So we were earlier talking about Bharadwaj Pakshi sighting, and remembering it as a lucky day or something like that. So nowadays, like you said, people remember things with stories, and they connect themselves with that. So this Bharadwaj Pakshi का जो significance है, that is also nowadays somewhere lost, and people don't know about it. People crib about pigeons getting, a lot of pigeons getting at their windows and making nuisance. So they don't understand the impact of the surroundings or the impact of the entire chain of the nature. Now if we increase the population of Bharadwaj Pakshi in our surroundings, automatically the count of pigeons will go down.
Right.
So this is how the nature is interconnected, and this is how it is affecting our surroundings. This is what we don't realize much
Yes.
nowadays. So somewhere we need to get back to nature based solutions rather than finding something very what do you call, inspired from the latest or the modern technologies or something like
Yeah,
that.
a lot of engineering solutions
Huh.
which actually incur a lot of cost. Okay, and they are not even aesthetic to in the way they are put into the landscape, and they will require maintenance
Yes.
again and again. Where nature-based solutions can actually uh, be very useful. They can inspire people around. Okay, there could be stewardship which comes with the nature-based solutions. So this is something, and like you said, that the presence of certain kind of species in an environment are also indicators of how that ecology is balanced.
Correct.
Okay, so when there's a coming of sparrow to my balcony, I feel now things probably are better. You know, so there's always this prey predator relationship in the environment which you have, which talks about whether it is healthy or not.
Correct.
We will not get into the technical terms
Correct.
because
but students and generally layman asks कि हम क्या कर सकते हैं, अभी भारद्वाज पक्षी इधर नहीं है तो नहीं है, अभी उसको ला कैसे सकते हैं. But as landscape architects, we think of our surroundings and environment. We can choose such plant species or tree species that attract these kind of bird species.
yes, absolutely.
So that this is where our expertise come in picture, and this is, I think, many people don't understand, and the students also don't have this kind of exposure
Yes.
nowadays. I mean, we experience this with freshers. So how do you take these topics in your studios?
So when landscape as a subject is introduced in third year currently in a BH curriculum, where they're introduced with a lot of subjects in that year. So we have to do it, and the time allotted, we have to do it in a very small way. And case studies here become very important to introduce all these elements where nature-based solutions can be used into their designs, and especially related to issues and problems which are there in urban areas and which are for the site for which they are designing. Okay, so looking into maybe the urban heat island and how the tree cover in your site could improve the microclimate of your place. Now this is a very small nature-based solution which they can use, even shading the walls to reduce their air conditioning infrastructure within that site. Now it is not only making a sustainable design, it is adding to the visual quality, it is adding to the sight quality, it is adding to the tactile quality, it is adding to the experience and memories of the place. So it is not only addressing one aspect, but it can do so many things. And beyond that site, it is also helping the biodiversity gain within a larger setting. So it is done in your site, but it is also addressing to something beyond the site. Okay, so that is what landscapes can do. I mean, like I said, they flow beyond your site, and
Absolutely.
the landscape from outside also impacts your site.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is something very beautiful. Even with respect to the stormwater management of your place and how you can do it aesthetically, or you are managing the waste and you kind of doing phytoremediation and things like that. Of course, it comes with constraints of the sizes of sites within your designs, but you can do it in a small way. Definitely you can add experiences through your landscape design. At an MH level, they look at intensively looking at nature-based solutions for their projects. That also you can do with a lot of research and case studies where you look at these aspects. So currently we are doing a regional study in our landscape studio where they are looking at human wildlife conflict. So when
Interesting.
especially in urban areas now, regional studies encompass many other things, but this is a concern coming from a particular case of a region. So they looked into many other aspects and read and saw videos, and they found these nature-based solutions where there is a conflict of humans and elephants, and where they used a kind of a green edge, which became a habitat for bees. Okay, and because of the threat of bees for the elephants started avoiding these. Now they could have put an electric fence, okay, which would incur cost. It would be threat for other life forms also. If, they would go and touch that fence. But this kind of a solution was very beautiful.
Right.
Okay, in the way they addressed their goal. So yes,
Yes.
nature-based solutions, and they can be very beautiful in the environment and could adapt into that place very
Exactly.
easily, and not much of maintenance needs to be done for that.
Correct.
So yeah,
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such rich
it was my
conversation.
pleasure. Yeah,
From our conversation, I could go back to my memories, and I think it has
wonderful.
helped
So I've done my
everybody
job
to
at least to one stakeholder here.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Everybody, must be getting back to their memories and recalling things from our conversations. Thank you
Yes.
so much. for
Thank you,
joining
Mrunal.
us.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Hope you all have realized how landscape improves your quality of life. So, for more such conversations about the field, do like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel.